Almost. Yeah? Yeah? Howdy. My name's Workshop Lewis, and this is my E30 M3 Ute. Genuine M3 rear quarter panel, genuine front fenders, we've got genuine doors, and today we need to get the genuine rear bumper on. One of the things that I've learned about M3s is there are a lot of parts that look similar but aren't quite the same. And I've got a M3 crash bar. So this bar bolts onto the back of the car and then the bumper bolts onto that. This is an E30 one, and surprise, surprise, it doesn't work. I wish I knew that before, but it is what it is. To find one of these for an M3, they're about $900 Australian, and I'd be waiting 3 to 4 weeks. I've gone out and gotten this. This is a E46 compact rear crash bar. And although the radius is slightly different, it is a little long. The height of it is absolutely perfect for me to be able to modify this bar and make it suit my M3 rear bumper. So we've got to cut this down to get it in there. We've then got brackets that go on the inside. No, of course, it was a 50-50 and I got it wrong. So we've got a bracket that goes on both of these, and then we've got the full hardware kit that goes into the chassis. So I think the first step is getting all of this bolted on and seeing if it all slides up nice and neatly, whether or not this bar needs any modification to just sit on the car, because this is a bit of a bitzer. There's E30, there's M3, there's like Proton Arena or Jumbuck. I don't know if any of it's going to fit. If this rear apron is the same or something similar, we're good. If it's not, we're good, but it's just going to take longer. So let's put this on and see how it fits. So this is a whole kit. There's the part number. Hopefully is everything we need as far as the sides are concerned to get that rear bumper onto the chassis. This whole kit is still available from BMW, which is kind of crazy. There isn't a left and right for these, so we can just do whatever. I think I'm missing a bolt. What the hell? That's not cool. They stooged me a bolt. All right, well. Dang it. A little annoying, not the end of the world. Yeah, that'll do for now, just for mocking up. I'll install it on the other side and then we'll come back. We've got the brackets on the chassis. Now we need to do the brackets on the bumper. These are just 3D printed. I tracked these down online. These are NLA, so you can't get them, and 3D printed was the best I could do. Now the rest of the parts in that kit are all of the little brackets. We can put all of these little clippy bits, slide that in. Seems right, but not completely. There we go. That's what we want to see. Both brackets on, brackets are on the car. We should just be able to slide this on, and as long as we're supporting the back of the bumper, we should be sweet. Holy cow. I mean, it's not that far off. That's actually sick. It's got a little bit of give. I don't think it's got enough give though. I think that's probably a lot of cutting and a lot of plating, and probably wouldn't have a lot of reinforcement. Interesting. I'm going to make a phone call. Alrighty, we're back in the regular bay. We're off the hoist, and I think I'm going to have to word dump on what's going on with the tailgate, because we've got a little bit of an update. So some of you might remember the shinge. I don't think that's going to work, and I've got all of the little mechanisms that I've taken out of tailgates. So we need to fit a latch in. We need to fit the swivel point so then we can unlatch things. And we've got to work out what we're going to do with the hinging mechanism, because I don't really want to have giant holes in the floor that can fill it up with dirt, dust, sand, rubble, whatever. I'm doing an order for t-shirts, crab car. If you want any weird sizing in hoodies, jumpers, or t-shirts, put an order in over the weekend, because I'm doing my order on Monday. I've been going back and forth over the hinge, a dual hinge mechanism, and I think they're all probably a little bit too complicated for what it needs to be. I had a thought. I was about 50% there, went to Solid Engineering, had a chat with Caleb and Louis, and they helped me get that last bit. What it does mean is I'm probably going to have to remove the E30 skin off of the jumbuck tailgate mechanism and rebuild the whole backside of the tailgate so we can fit everything in there nice and neatly. So my original thought was we can have it so the tailgate sits here and we have a slide out mechanism that slides out and then pivots. That way we can get everything on the same height, and then we would still have one of these out here holding the edge or the end of the tailgate up, taking the weight. The only issue with that is how do we get this to slide and then still maintain some kind of strength? So thinking back and forth, then Louis from Solid Engineering said, well, why does the slide need to be on the chassis side where we're really governed by thickness? There isn't a lot we can do here to take the weight of the tailgate and then the weight of someone sitting on there possibly drinking a cold frosty beverage. So why don't we put the slide in the tailgate? Because then we can have all of the latching mechanisms in the tailgate. So on the handle, that you open the handle and it unlatches from the chassis for this to pivot. That handle mechanism is going to have a dual latching mechanism where it takes it off of the chassis and uncouples a pin inside, so then this can slide up and then pivot down. So the pivot point is here, and we'll be able to, when you want to lift the tailgate, you will then still need to pull the handle, unlatch it, and you can slide it back up. I think I explained it clearly, but it makes sense to me. What's in front of you is the hinge. I'd made the tailgate previously and thought, well, how do I make a hinge to suit the tailgate? And I think that was incorrect. I need to make the hinge, get that functional, and then make the tailgate to suit the hinge that I've got. We've got two big pieces of 65 by 8 mil either end, cut so they can go, ooh, that was loud, cut so they can hit the back of the bed frame that we've got. We've got some 30 by 8 mil, and I've machined up some hinges. So 2 outers and an inner. So the inner can pivot. The 2 outers get welded to the piece on the bed. The inner gets welded to the piece in the middle. That is the pivot point. Now, this next part is where it gets tricky. This is the bit that will be inside the tailgate. I have some nylon and some other steel. I need to make a box section that will have nylon screwed to the base and then a top piece that will sandwich it. So then this can slide in and out. So then we have a pivot point and a bit that can slide in and out, which then gets us the clearance onto the bumper. There's still a lot of questions as to how the box section gets attached to the tailgate, but this is what I mean about like making the tailgate to suit the hinge. I can build a frame, attach the frame to this slide section, and then we've got our clearance for the bumper. We do probably need to cut out a section of the bed, make it a little bit stronger, because we are going to have a hinged weighted point on this end. We want to make sure that it is fixed at the very end of this piece of bar and nice and rigid to make sure that it doesn't want to lift up. Once we've got all of that sorted, we can put a stop in the hinge to make it so it can't pivot past a certain point. And we need to work out the sliding locking mechanism. There's still heaps to work out, basically what I'm trying to say. I can make a hinge now. I can make a slide, and then we can go from there. Sick. I'm gonna clean all of this up off camera, and then I'm just gonna jump straight into welding the hinge together. That's a hinge. We're ready to go. It sits that way. We've got to work out where it's going to go in the chassis and how it's all going to attach to the car. I've also only tacked it all together just in case it's all wrong, which is a very real possibility. Oh, I didn't switch back from grinding. I just flashed the absolute shit out of my eyes. Whoo! That's bad. Oh, that's going to be sore tonight. Yep, that was a mistake. Always check to make sure it's on grind. No, always check to make sure your helmet's on weld. Whoops. All right, I need a second. Nice. So now we need to get one of these pieces, and this is going to slide in and out. So we need to put nylon to 2 of these. Well, no, I need to put nylon on all of these at the width of this, and then weld the sides on. So time to do some marking, drilling, and tapping. I think we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 30 mil from the end, 80 mil in between. Finish both the slides. They can now, let's grab the clamp. With a small amount of pressure, we can now pull up and slide out. I'm going to have to do some modification to the chassis, make a little channel, weld in a piece underneath the hinge, and I think the hinge is going to be set back here, so you won't even see it, you'll just see a little cutout above the bumper. We've now got to work out what the next step is, because I didn't really get that far. I think if we've got both of those attached, the next step is getting a bar that can weld together top and bottom, other way around, top and bottom. So there'll be one piece. I'm just making it all up as I go, just like everything else. Tailgate. Well, the start of the structure. Let's go double check to make sure those hinges are in the right spot, but they're not fixed down. So if we need to do slight adjustments, we still can. I did double check corner to corner before I welded it. And I should double check it again now. 1109. 1109. Sick. Sick. Now what do I need to do? I think the next unknown that we really need to work out is how we're going to be clamping all of this together, because we don't want to get so much pressure on the nylon or on this joint to the point where it can't slide up and down nice and easily, but we can't have it too loose. I've got to work that out, I think, next. More thinking. I'll be back in a jiffy. All right, I've had a night to think about how this top piece attaches and puts tension on the slide rail. And there are a couple of options. We could drill through the slide piece and then slot it out, but we're going to be machining out a lot of strength in a spot that's already kind of, it needs as much strength as it can get. So the next option is welding on side pieces, wings, onto the, I don't know what this is called, Reggie. This bit is called Reggie. So we weld wings onto Reggie, coming off the side, and we want to make sure, so the metal part of Reggie is 5mm, this is 3mm. We want to have a slight step, so then we can put tension on it. We can then get some angle and some weld on nuts, which we can then bolt Reggie down to the new tailgate. I forgot to press record, but there is Reggie all welded up, and for clarification, they are both called Reggie, all right? Just to make it easier. I've only just tacked them together because I want to confirm this all works, but once I cool them off, I can put the nylon back on and weld up the tailgate side. Pretty sure it is going to work, but it's also a bit of a question. So we've definitely got a space in between so we can clamp it down. We do want to make sure that when we're tightening up the bolts into the nuts from underneath that we're doing it even, so we're not putting all of the weight on one side and then just, yeah, you get it. Cool. Okay, so I think we're going to tidy these up a little bit. Not all of the ends are perfectly like level, so sand them back. Because we're just drilling a through hole and welding a nut on the back, it doesn't need to be done in a drill press or anything like, anything that gets it perfectly straight. So drill 4 holes. I'll do 2 over this side, weld the nuts on, and then we can test fit it. Put a 3mm down. Now I'm going straight to 9mm because we're putting an M8 bolt in. When pilot drilling, you never want to be more than 75% the next hole. So if you're going to end up on a 10mm hole, the biggest you want to drill before is 7.5. Hey, good start. I meant to do a 9. It was meant to be a 9, but I accidentally picked out the 11.5. So that one's going to be a little bit loose, but the rest will be all right. All magical 9mm holes. All of them. not gonna get that one out. Where the hell did that one go? There it is. Yes. I almost think that is going to be too much pressure on there, but let's see. Oh yeah, that is, that is a lot of pressure. Okay, that is still quite tight. Like, you don't want to be yanking up on it like that to get that out. Poop. Can we put some washers in between? I'm going to mess around with this for a little bit, see if I can get it to work, and I'll come back. So I've put washers in between, which does kind of mess with the serviceability, but I can come up with a more permanent solution later on. It works though. So it would be a tilt back, once it's unlatched, slide down, then it would be slide it back in, latch on, which is sick. It works, and it's done. I don't have to worry or think about this anymore. Tilt back, sick. That's so cool. The next step we have to look at is the latching mechanism that latches to the slide hinge. Move the tripod and show you what I've got to build the whole thing. Okie dokie. In front of us, we've got the inside tailgate panel out of the Proton Jumbuck, which I want to keep this bit the same because that matches the base of the ute, the base panel. We've got latching mechanisms out of the D-Max tub that we used, which I think we're going to use in the top section to latch our tailgate to the chassis. We then have a VU tailgate, which has more latching mechanisms, which I should be able to modify and have a pin into the side of our tailgate for the slide mechanism. And this is the main reason why I wanted to pick up this tailgate. I should be able to cut around here, install this panel and this lever into the Jumbuck panel, which then gives us a much simpler way of getting a latching open and close handle into the tailgate. On the E31, you've got the button for the boot, and I was trying to work out how to get that to work, but it would be really difficult to push that button and then lift the tailgate up, because you do need to pivot it back, lift it up. So now we can set up a handle on the inside. I'll probably fill in the button hole, and then you've got a nice good ledge where you'll be able to pick it up, and I might even modify a little bit so it feels more like a handle on the inside here. Then once we've done that, we've just got to work out the length, or maybe a rope length for holding the edge of the tailgate, just for a little bit of weight stability. And I mean, it's really as simple as that. I've got all of the parts here. I just need to work out how they mesh together. So we need to take all of the mechanism out and then work out where we're cutting. Before I do that, I just want to say a big thank you to Marko. So I did a post on a VYVZ Commodore page, had like 50,000 people in there, asking for a tailgate with a picture of the ute, and he was the only person to comment on the E30 ute. And he was like, yeah, sick, awesome project. I've got a tailgate and you're more than welcome to just take it. It's in pretty rough condition, but for me, it didn't really matter. He does have a detailing business. He didn't ask me to do this. I'm just doing it for the kindness and generosity that he showed me, giving me this tailgate. So if you need any detailing in the kind of northeastern area of South Australia, I'll leave his details in the description below. Hit him up, follow him on Instagram, show him some love. So now we can rip this apart and start cutting into it. Sick. We've got the mechanism, and this twists back and forth. It's spring loaded through the barrels. And then if this isn't the right length, I'm hoping that I don't need to extend it, but if I can shorten it, it's just cutting the kink off and then putting a fold in it or a bend in it whenever at the position that we need it. It can come in the side and stop the slide bit attached to Reggie. Let's cut this out. Dang it. Dang it. Wonderful. Didn't catch any of that. How good. 2 spot welds from the reinforcing on the back. I'm not going to throw this out because there may be angles and panels that I can cut off of this for my tailgate. So we've got to work out how to get this onto here, but I just got a call from BMW Adelaide and my rear crash bar and all of my mounting brackets and whatnot are here. So I'm going to go get them now. We can fit them off, get rid of that jack stand, be certain that all of the gaps are right, and then carry on with the tailgate. Ta-da! Brand new from BMW E30 M3 rear crash bar. So this gets mounted to this, which gets mounted to these, which get mounted to the chassis. So because this isn't originally an M3, I have what was the old version of the mounting bracket that I cut off the frame rail from the second-hand M3 rear quarters. So I can get dimensions on how it should mount up to the chassis, get these bolted onto the chassis, get this mounted to the bumper, and then bolt it all together. And the only thing we've got to work out is the sides, because they're kicking out, but I don't know how they're supposed to get fixed on, but we'll answer that question later. Let's get these installed. I've managed to remove the old one from the bit of chassis that I've cut off. This was completely gone. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to reuse it, but I'm really glad I replaced it. These are about 140, 150 bucks each for both sides. So I'm glad I've just got new ones, but now I can cardboard template the hole from the original one, get it all lined up on the details on my chassis, and then cut out exactly what I need. So I'll cardboard template this, transfer it onto both sides, cut them out, and then we do also need to measure. There is a nut on the back of that one. Once that slides down the chassis rail, we need to put a bolt in the side, and we need to measure where it is from this face to that bolt, drill a hole, bang it in, done. Sick. We've got the old one. I've made a template. I've made it fairly conservative on the square or the rectangle on the inside. It's a rectangle, it's not a square. I've made it fairly conservative on the internals, but it does just look like it's wherever the chassis rail starts. So I can drill some holes, cut it out, and then grind out a little bit more, or sand out if I need a little bit more. And with the template, of course, every single time, if you're cutting a shape out for a template, use shapes. It's the best cardboard for it. And now we can line the top up with the top. It does seem like these holes are all kind of worn out in their own way. Mark it out. That's what we need to cut out. I'm going to go inside the lines, work up to it, and go from there. How to think about it, and it's going to be easier to just chuck a step drill down it and then work out how much further we've got to move out. Okay. almost. My square is completely off. So I'm glad I didn't trust that template. Hey, nice. Can we still get... All right, I can get the nut on from the back on that side. But this side is in here, so I am gonna have to probably weld a nut on or a stud in and have it come from the other way. But that's sick. Let's go get a nut for that one, and that one can just sit there. I'll do the same to the other side, and then we can mount the bar up. Nice. It's not the prettiest, but it's gonna work for now, and when it's all said and done, I can clean up this whole back panel, get it primed in black, but for now, just put these bad boys on. And there's going to be a little bit of movement or adjustment just trying to get the bumper into the right spot. But we now have M3 rear bumper mounts attached to the car. And although there's still some modification that needs to be done, this was way easier than doing it any other way. Come on. Now we want to get the plastic clips from the crash bar into the rear bumper, and then we can just bolt them on. I even got brand new bolts, or no, nuts, with the whole kit, so I didn't have to think about it. Nice. So these are the little clips that came in my kit with the side slide bits as well. I don't get why they gave me so few clips. That has so much more strength to it. Still gonna get the slides set up. But we should just be able to push it back. Sick. Okay, so this side isn't too bad. This side needs to come up, so I need to loosen that bracket. Yes! Yes! Bumper is on. So the only M3 parts that we have to put on still are the door, driver's side door, and driver's side skirt, and we're full M3 spec. Sick. I do still have the little caps, and there's probably still a little bit of adjustment, but it is actually a little bit. It's not a lot. This just bolts straight on, and it is sick. Now that we've got this all set up, I don't have a jack stand in the way. We can go back onto the tailgate and get the locking mechanism on the slide. Yes! All right, it's the next day. I kind of got a little sidetracked yesterday working out what I needed to do next, basically. And I started making a little panel that sits underneath the hinges as a stop, and then more of a final piece, but I don't know where the back of the hinge, the chassis side of the hinge, is going to sit. I do need to make it so it can't keep putting weight on the chassis. So I've made some pins that I'm just going to weld to the outer part of the hinge. They could be temporary, they might be permanent, I'm not sure, but we just want to get it so the hinge can't open all the way. I am also going to weld the chassis side to the frame. It again, could be temporary, it could be permanent. I haven't quite decided yet. We kind of need to just get all of the latching mechanism functional, completely working on the inside, weld the skin on, make sure it all works. And if at that stage I'd need to drop the chassis side down, I can cut, weld it in, work it out. We need to weld these on, weld the hinge to it, and then work out the internal latching mechanism here. Get it attached to the handle and make the internal panel. That's what we need to do in that order. Sick. Okay. Great steps. I've been here like 5 minutes and I've gotten a bunch done. More than I got done in the last, 2 hours of yesterday. Nice. Welded in, no clamps. All functional. This is a little bit looser than this one, so you can see I'm pulling up, but it's catching this side, but not this side. So, yeah, you can just see that. But now there's no clamps in the way, it looks much neater, and there is still a bit of flex to it, but once we put the stringer on the side, it will take the weight off the front, and I should be able to sit on it. I wouldn't sit on it just yet. Now, in this position, we can start cutting this down so we can get one bolt in. They don't need to be that big because it's not latching it to the car, it's just latching it to the slide. So let's get these two mounted. This in the center, and then we can get this functional. So we're going to go down the bottom. It's got a radius and a flat. The flat needs to be facing up, so as you slide it back down, it can click in, and then on the opposite way, it will just click in again. Somewhere down here, somewhere up here, we're going to need to drill a hole through, but we need to cut this down, drill a couple of holes, and work out where we can drill and tap into the side that isn't going to foul on these other bolts. Kind of why I didn't weld these bad boys in, because I don't know if they need to be moved a little bit. I think we're probably going to need to trim it down both sides, but that's a good start. That's pretty close to fitting in. I'll just wait for him to stop doing up the rear nuts. Perfect time for him to start sanding. How many wheel nuts does he have? All right. Okay, so that's pretty close to fitting in below this nut. So we could trim a little bit more, and we only need to have like an M8 bolt going through top and bottom. So this can be way smaller as long as it just fits in and engages, and that's pretty much it. Got a thin side and a slightly thicker side. Inside goes to the front of the car, I guess. I've got it drilled out for an M6 bolt, and now we just want to mark where it's going. Oh, one. Yes. Okay. I need to go. But I don't need to go to work. I need to go have a meeting with someone about an engine. And on that note, I'll be out of here. Sick. Just had the meeting about the engine, and I don't know what chassis I'm putting it in, but I know what engine I'm using next. Some of you may be aware, some of you probably aren't. If you watched the lives, you probably have a pretty good idea of what I'm going to be doing. Now that we've got all of that sorted, let's get the latching mechanism, or let's get the handle mechanism functional, because now I can't get this tailgate off as it stands. What am I doing? Where'd that panel go? Where did that panel go? here it is. This is going to go, say, about there. And I think if we measure the middle of it, I might just tack this panel into position. Then we can fold all of these up and make sure that the whole mechanism is going to work for sure. And it is that to there, and then this one wants to go up there for that. Nice. Nice. Whoops. I guess, no, that still only hits the stops. Nice. Does it? Yeah, that still hits the stops. Nice. Didn't even plan it like that. So, we've got to think this one needs to be pulled that way. So, that is the locked, unlocked. So this one is going to the lower one, and then the right side one is going to the upper. And I've looked at a bunch of different ones. You can put bends anywhere on this line as long as they're in parallel with each other. Yep, bend, and then we'll pick the mark about there. This camera's really in the way. I'm gonna have to put you further back. I've done that wrong. I said this one here. It's around the wrong way, you fool. I didn't listen to myself at all. Act like nothing happened at all. Let me mess around with this. Oh, my battery's about to die anyway. It works. So, both sides lock, lift, disengage, put it down. Nice. This was difficult. I'm going to call it there. No, I'm not even going to say that. I'm going to cut that bit out. I'm going to call that there. I'm done. It's Thursday. We're going to get this video out tomorrow night. Sorry I didn't get one out last week. I just didn't feel like I had enough of a ending. But, I mean, the last couple of days, bumper on, hinge working, slide mechanism working, latching mechanism working, is sick. It's sitting in the right spot as far as the plane goes. I do need to move it up, but I can start working out the next latching mechanism. I can start doing many other things, including the latching mechanism. I do need to set it up so I can do the second notch in the slide mechanism, so when we pull it up, it locks in again. Make sure it doesn't come all the way out. We can do the stringer that holds the end of the tailgate. And again, 6,000. Thank you very much for everyone who's watching, everyone who's consistently leaving comments, likes. If this video is a couple of years old and you've just watched this episode, leave me a comment. I'll still reply. Thank you to all of the Patreons. Keep lifting rocks. Eh? Eh?